You just don't know when to quit.
Yeah, I've been told that before.
Wow. Are you guys seeing this?
I need a weapon.
Hello there.
You with you?
I don't care if it's me.
Well. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Slav's Free Talk Podcast on this beautiful Restore the SnyderVerse trending day. I don't know if you heard, but apparently Saudi Arabia is going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Yeah, about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Not too much. I'm not going to dive too much into that, but we are going to discuss it a little bit. Along with that, we're going to talk about, let's see, we got our first look at Link and Princess Zelda, potential for Zombieland 3, and there is a crap ton of DC news from a potential casting leak of like information of who they are, well, not so much a leak, but like who they're looking for a female cast in Man of Tomorrow. Some weird Pierce Brosnan, Dr. Fate back and forth. It was really weird. And some additional things that were interesting that popped up. So yeah, we're going to get into it. Let's see what's going on. Oh, wait, there's my camera. I got to fix my camera. I got to get a new camera is what I got to do. I got it because I try to use my phone. I was like, hey, I'm going to start using my phone again. And then it just doesn't connect sometimes. It's annoying. It is. It's annoying. Okay. So what's going on, everybody? Who's all here? Let's see. We got Critic Chris in here. Says, hey, Slav, everyone, what's going on? I see Donovan's in here. He's been talking a whole bunch. We got, where's that? Kevco in here. He says, hey, Chris. I know. He's been in here. Trayvon's in here. We got Derpy Entertainment. Are you baiting Slav? Who's baiting me? Who's baiting me? Donovan says, in other news, the Moana trailer looks like shit. Yeah, it didn't look good. That looks really, really bad. But I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. Like, first off, I know it's kind of off topic, but they shouldn't be making that movie now to begin with. And it seems like every time The Rock gets too involved with something, it just doesn't turn out well. It really doesn't. Now, Derpy, are you asking if I'm baiting somebody or is somebody baiting me? Whatever. Am I baiting somebody? Here's the thing. When it comes to baiting, okay, it's funny because I actually had somebody comment on my one article that I posted today about Zack Snyder, and they were like, oh, you're just looking for clicks. And it's like, well, first off, when you make a website, anybody who makes a website, anybody who's creating a website or a YouTube channel or whatever, they want clicks. So if you're making an article, if you're making a video, if you're doing a live show, regardless of what you're making, you want clicks. You want people to click on that article, on that video. So yes, whatever I created, I want clicks for. Where everything starts to get a little shady and ridiculous is whether or not you believe and truly feel the way you actually feel in that article or in that video. And that's what people kind of don't understand in today's age. Like that article that I wrote about Zack Snyder today and that I posted, I 110% feel and believe about Zack Snyder. I'm not writing it because I'm like, oh, I'm going to bait people and get people in here to argue and bitch and complain. No. I'm reading the room. I'm seeing what's going on with Zack Snyder, with the SnyderVerse fandom, with the DC fandom. I'm seeing what's going on, and I write an article based around that, based on my opinions and my feelings. And people are like, you're just baiting because you want people to bitch and complain. And it's like, no, Is that going to happen? Maybe, but that's not the whole aspect and idea behind it. So, people just they don't have any real good like thinking skills nowadays. A lot of people, it's kind of pathetic. It really is. All right. So let's see. Who else do we got? Anybody else jump in here? I don't see anybody else right now. That's all right. All right. Let's get into the first thing. And like I said, I am going to talk about this. I did do a members only video earlier that popped up talking about the Saudi Arabia thing, more so on the Cosmic Book News side of it. So if you want to hear my thoughts about the ridiculousness when it comes to Cosmic Book News, you can become a member. Check out that video there because it is really pathetic what Cosmic Book News is doing. That's where you're going to start to see a lot, not all, but a lot of my rants and a lot of my call outs are going to be over there now. I have found that I have caused a lot of issues on my normal YouTube channel. And not that I don't want to have it for everybody, because I am going to do things still for everyone. But you're going to see some of my member only content is going to lean heavily in that direction, only because of the issues that it's brought up recently. And I kind of hinted at it the other day, and I just don't want to draw any more of that negativity over, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, okay, so let's get into this first. That's not what I wanted to do. Come on, there we go. Why is this looking all wonky on my screen? That's better. Okay. So I don't know if you've heard, but Saudi Arabia is apparently very serious about wanting to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. So here's the thing. This news has kind of floated around the last couple weeks. Obviously, there's been the news of the Netflix and Paramount and Comcast, and even Apple and Amazon have popped up here and there. But the one that really came in towards the end here over the last couple of weeks has been Saudi Arabia. And it's really interesting how people have just decided to jump on board with this, thinking, oh, this makes the most sense. First off, it really doesn't. It makes the least amount of sense. But people are jumping on board with it because, well, hey, the whole aspect of this hinges in these people's minds with Zack Snyder. Like, come on. Again, that's where everything falls and hinges on, is Zack Snyder with these people. So if we take a look, this guy, Patrick, what is his name? Patrick, I can't remember what his name is. Anyways, he's some kind of producer, something like that over in Hollywood, and he does some TikToks and things like that. He's kind of the one that started this rumor a few weeks back. And the other day he decided to, actually, I think it was yesterday, decided to address it even more. And this is what he said.
The verge of purchasing Warner Brothers. I posted this about 24 hours ago. What's interesting is to see the internet doing its internet thing, and so many people have taken this information and have run with it. Outlets are now presenting this as their own, but the source is right here. Kind of humorous, because I've actually been reporting on this since October 16th. That's when I first heard that there may be a $70 billion deal from Saudi Arabia to purchase Warner Brothers. Now, I do have sources in Saudi Arabia who are now telling me that the deal is about one signature away from being complete. And these sources...
All right. So I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to talk about some things a little more here as it goes on. I want to talk about some things here. So first off, he says that it's a $70 billion deal, and rumors have it, I think he's going to say it here in a little bit, but rumors have that the Paramount deal, Skydance, was offering upwards of like $60 billion in a few of their bids. Now, he does go on and he kind of says some things, and we'll get into it here in a second. He says they are one signature away. Now, people are jumping on this. Holy crap, they're one signature away. He refuses to acknowledge the fact that, hey, they are one, they could be. Let's just say they're one signature away. If they're one signature away, well, they have to get through the board. They then have to get through shareholders. They have to get through regulators. They have to get through all of this. This is nothing that is even near being done. However, let's take a step back and here, let's hear some more of what he has to say.
These are pretty solid media sources, and they're sources that I am trusting. Now, of course, this could all blow up in my face, and I could be eating the biggest meal of dead crow of my life if it's wrong. But I am trusting my gut right now. I'm trusting my sources, so I am going all in on.
So he covers his ass here. He says, I'm told this is happening. This is going to happen. But then he does the thing where he covers his ass. Oh, but this could blow up and I could be eating a whole bunch of crow, but this could happen, but it may not happen. Look, guys, look, this could happen. This could happen, but it also could not happen. So this is really what stems this whole Saudi Arabia thing. This is where it's coming from.
This is what's happening. The one information I don't have is whether Comcast is also involved with this deal, whether Comcast would be picking up some of the additional elements of Warner Brothers like HBO Max. That's still the mystery right now.
He then throws in a third little caveat there. Comcast. Now, why is that thrown in there? Well, the guy, Brian, what is his name? Something Brian, I can't remember his name right now, was from Comcast, was in Saudi Arabia recently. Some believe that he was going there to possibly talk to Saudi Arabia about being the backers, the money for them to go bid on Warner Brothers Discovery. And that's a possibility. But that rumor came out before he posted this video. Interesting. So he now has three possibilities. In this one video, he talks about three scenarios that it's going to be sold to Saudi Arabia. That, he could be wrong. Who knows? That could be wrong. And now, maybe Comcast is involved. I mean, this could just be because of Comcast.
But from what I understand, Paramount has made multiple bids at about $60 billion, and the Saudi fund is estimated to be $1 trillion. And
so the Saudi fund that he's talking about is just the amount of money they have that they're willing to like the fund that they have to spend on certain amount of things. And as you know, Saudi has been spending a lot of money on different aspects to really build up their industry, specifically their entertainment industry. And that's kind of what this fund is about.
And as a person who was in Saudi Arabia just 3 weeks ago, you've seen the evidence now showing that this country is going all in on media. They bought EA Sports. It's on LIV Golf. Now, of course, what's really interesting is so far, none of the traditional Hollywood news outlets have reported on any of this.
What's weird is he then outs himself. Because no significant outlet is reporting on this. And there's a reason why. Because there's no evidence to point that, hey, this is a thing. This is a thing that is actually happening or going to happen. If they were one signature away, you could bet that Reuters, that Forbes, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, Deadline, one of those outlets would have some inkling, some information that Saudi Arabia was that close. But they don't have that. Okay? So the fact, and I'm not going to, he goes on and on about it, but nothing of any real importance. But the crazy thing is, okay, and I saw somebody in the comments here say it, people are going all in with this whole idea of a foreign entity purchasing purchasing Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, this is not going to happen. And I know people have stated on my X feed saying, Slav, you can't say that with such certainty. Anything can happen. And you're right. Maybe I shouldn't say it with such certainty because anything is possible. You're right. In today's age, in today's world, anything is possible. But let's take a look at some evidence here. All right. So first and foremost, Congress has already objected to a far smaller Saudi investment. And the political climate makes approval for a Saudi-controlled, say, CNN or Hollywood studio almost impossible. Politically, it's not going to happen. Whether it's Republican-run, Democrat-run Congress, it's not going to happen. They're not going to allow it to happen. Even if it was a minority stake in Comcast, even if they were backing Comcast, if they got an inkling that Saudi was involved, they would demand that Saudi had no influence at all. And if Saudi was like, oh, look, we're not going to back you then the deal would be off. It would be completely off. So that's huge. Okay. And that goes all the way back to the whole idea of passing through any of the potential regulators that it has to go through between now and being approved and being a done deal. Now, what's the ridiculous part about all this is, again, the people who are supporting this. Because when you start to look at it, people are trying to connect dots to Zack Snyder. If you look at the people who are supporting this, every one of them is just connecting dots to Zack Snyder. That's all they're doing. They don't care about the history of Warner Brothers. They don't care about the future of Hollywood or the future of Warner Brothers and the future of what this could do to the industry. All they care about are just a couple of movies in a universe. And to me, that is sad, that is pathetic, and it is just not about artistic integrity that they claim to have always been about. And it's sickening. It's sickening. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't today, November 17th, isn't today the day that they're, touting Restore the SnyderVerse, sell ZSJL to Netflix? Yet they're all supporting this? It's really, really bizarre. It really is. So this is a very interesting development, if you want to call it that has transpired for sure. But it is one that, come on, it is the least likely to happen. If you ask me, it is the least likely to happen, because, again, like, I look at things logically. I look at things in a way that, I'm not driven by passion. I'm not driven by my desire to see one thing or the other happen. I'm looking at things like, okay, politically, regulation-wise, financially, all this stuff. Is this going to happen? Is it going to be passed? Is it going to be allowed to happen? Because, sure, they could offer $70 billion, and Warner Brothers could say, sure, I'll take that. But once it hits regulations and once it hits, the political climate, they could say, no, we do not want foreign entities running the show. And then it's off the table and right back to, well, we got to find somebody else. And that's the problem. But here's the crazy thing also. And I don't know if you know this, but Christopher Nolan, he has a deal with Universal. And apparently he's shooting the Odyssey in Morocco, which, grab your maps, guys. Grab your maps, because Morocco, that's near Saudi Arabia. Grab your tinfoil hats, everybody. Grab your tinfoil hats. Grab your tinfoil hats, because it all starts to make sense now. Christopher Nolan is talking to the Saudi Arabia government about buying Warner Brothers Discovery so he and Zack Snyder together can run DC Studios and bring back the SnyderVerse. That's what it means. There it is. Figured it out. It happened. I figured it all out. I mean, with the help of Cosmic Book News, of course. With the help of Cosmic Book News. They are such fools. They are such fools. But guys, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this, because like I said, it is one of those things that you sit down and you think about, and it's just the damage it would do to Hollywood, Warner Brothers, the everything in general in the industry would just be upended from this. You know, remember, I don't want Warner Brothers to be sold at all. I want them to stay going the course that they're going, because I think that they could dig themselves out of this. But inevitably, I think they're going to be sold. Saudi Arabia is not going to be where they get sold to. But again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about all that. Oh boy. Okay. I just kind of skimmed some of your comments, and it's funny. All right. Donovan says, Cosmic Book News are frauds. They sure are. Also says, I doubt this will happen. It will. It won't happen. Trayvon says, it's a bold strategy, Con. Let's see if it pays off. Nice dodgeball reference. Kevco says they are just part of the investment. See, that's the thing. Nobody knows. I won't say nobody knows. Everybody is speculating on everything here. First off, the Saudi Arabia stuff came up because of that one guy. And that guy there has no real backing. Like, he's a shock TikToker. When he comes to revealing scoops or quote unquote scoops and stuff and talking about the industry, he's typically doing it for shock value. So I don't like, I'm not going to sit here and say he's wrong about everything, because I don't know him well enough. I don't watch his stuff enough, but I've skimmed through his things. I've seen the way he acts. I've watched some of his videos, and you can tell that he just wants a reaction. He wants a rise out of people. You know, and he's reading the room right now, like I am. He's reading the room, and he can see, oh, the conversation right now is Zack Snyder. You know, so like that's what you do. When you start to read the room, you lean heavily into what the conversation is about, and you can tell that's what he's doing. Critic Chris says, I don't like the idea of the Saudis were to buy Warner Brothers. I don't think they will. I can say that with pretty strong opinion that I don't believe they will. Donovan says, my sources say I made it up. Donovan says, I also never heard of this guy, means I don't trust him. Critic Chris says he's full of it. Brian with an I, wanting the WB to be sold off to a foreign entity is wild. It is. Like, why you would want Warner Brothers to be sold off to a foreign entity is beyond me. Why you would want any American studio company to be sold off to a foreign entity is wild. But again, when it comes to these people, it is solely, you can tell it is solely based on wanting Zack Snyder's Justice League. And they think that's how they're going to get it. That's all it is. Will Fish to Gash. What's going on, Willie Fish to Gash? A restored SnyderVerse missed it by that much. Trayvon says, talk about desperate times, call for desperate measures if you're the Snyder cult. It really is. Donovan says, but Snyder Tard 69 told me today the SnyderVerse will be restored today. Trust the plan. Hashtag trust the plan. Critic Chris says, I noticed one person doesn't want Netflix because future SnyderVerse films may not be released on physical form. Ah, geez. Well, that's it. They can't do it. Kevco says, Slav doing research and using his brains has the Snyder bros mad. It's true. They do not like when people do research and use their heads. They don't like that. River says, F. Snyder, I just believe the real news media that the Saudis are attempting to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Where are we at? Willie says that Earth is near to the moon too. Donovan, Cosmic Book News posting that Nolan and Snyder are in cahoots to restore the SnyderVerse. Yeah. Trayvon, if that isn't the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Nolan couldn't care less about DC at all. Let alone the SnyderVerse. Brian with an eye, is Wonder Woman and a burqa what they want? Let's see. Randola, hey Slav, are you guys going to make a review of Predator Badlands? I would like to. I haven't. Oh, man, I wanted to go to the movie theaters the last 2 weeks. I just haven't had a chance. Like, I want to see Predator. I want to see Running Man. I want to see Now You See Me, Now You Don't. I still haven't even seen Tron Ares. I wanted to see that. Like, there's so much I want to see. And I don't know. Hopefully I have some time to get to the theater over the next couple weeks to see some of these things. What did I just watch the other? I finally watched Jurassic World. Finally got to see that, which was not good at all. But I did finally get to watch that the other day. So that was something. Kevco says Nolan got out the moment after Man of Steel was released, was a producer in name only after. Actually, my nose is G. He actually had some input on BVS. Zack Snyder actually talks about how he talked to Nolan about the death of Superman in Batman vs. Superman and how Nolan told him not to do it. So that's where that went. That's where that went. Let's see. Trayvon says Jeff Johns has a greater chance to return to DC than Nolan does. It's funny. I have a Jeff Johns article on the site right now. Willie says I only trust reliable sources like harsh critics. Jeez. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the next topic. There are new photos for the Legend of Zelda movie, where we get to see our first look at Princess Zelda and Link. I think they look pretty good. I do. I don't think they're bad looking. Doesn't give us much though. I think there's some other pictures floating around as well, but I'm looking at these and I think that was I don't know if these were like official. They are official movie, official set photos. I guess they are official, but like I look at them and I sit there and I'm like, they give us nothing. And I'm also a little concerned. Like specifically, like if you look, Princess Zelda is like got the bow, the arrows, and Link's just kind of like, "Hey, I'm over here behind you. Like I'm hiding. I'm hiding behind you." Like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Oh no! Oh, look, they look great. They look great. The ears look good. They look good. Yeah, everything looks good. I'm just a little worried. I'm worried about that. Like, to me, Princess Zelda should be like taken and Link should be going to save her. That's just me, That's just me. Anyway, let's see. Sorry, my video was lagging a bit, so I wanted to make sure that it didn't look terrible. Next up, we have Zombieland. Zombieland 3 in 2029. Ruben Fleischer talks threequel hopes, turning down a Mission Impossible movie. But we're not going to talk about that because I don't care about that. What I care about is the possible return of Zombieland 3, which is 2 decades on from the first Zombieland. So, launching his career with the horror comedy starring Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, which was a huge hit for a debut filmmaker at a worldwide gross, $102 million. Fleischer earlier this week looked back at the film for the first time since hatching Zombieland Double Tap, the sequel released in 2019, which hit over $122 million global. The revelation of this sincere ambition to make a third film in the series was one of the many coming from a career retrospective of Wednesday at the Los Feliz 3, arranged by the American Cinema, whatever, where he talked among other things. In our conversation, Fleischer discussed getting his start in the industry, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't want to talk about that. Where's it at here? Okay. I should have pulled this up and had it ready to go. Of course, I kind of mess this up here. I thought I had it here, but I don't. Well, maybe I should just skip this, right? Maybe I should just forget about it. It's because I have it in reader mode. There we go. Maybe. I'm just going to skip it. Anyways, yeah, so he talks about there's a possibility for Zombieland 3, so we'll just go with that. Woohoo! Okay, anyways, moving on. Oh, man, I totally screwed that up. Okay. Sometimes you just kind of screw things up. That's what I always say. I need a producer. I need somebody who can just pull up the exact quote that I need sometimes, because whenever I'm trying to prep stuff, I have kids running around and I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. All right, let's move on to DC, because I know that's exciting for you guys. I know all of you love DC. Well, most of you do. This was exciting because we got kind of two reports, one after another here. The first report that we got was from Daniel RPK, saying DC Studios is reportedly looking to cast a new female character for a major role in Man of Tomorrow. A young actress in her 20s is being scouted. So this was a little interesting. So everybody started thinking, could it be Wonder Woman? Could it be, I think some people were saying, Live Wire, or some people were saying, anybody. It could be really any female character from DC lore. But then some additional information came out from Nexus Point News. A new female hero is being cast for Man of Tomorrow. She's described as being in her late 20s. So late 20s, the first one said in her 20s. So 20s, late 20s. And having an edge to her. There's a height requirement for this character, and they're looking for taller actresses. In addition, the character is being described as being a warrior and having a strong physique. So, is this Wonder Woman? Now, obviously, it doesn't have to be Wonder Woman. They could be looking at different types of characters for this to be. But come on, it's got to be Wonder Woman, right? Like, it's got to be. Like, for me, I have this feeling, and I said this months ago. I said this months ago that in order for James Gunn to really boost up the DCU, he has to really look, they don't have a script. They don't have a movie in production for Wonder Woman. They don't have a movie in production for Batman. They have to at least introduce these characters in some form or fashion soon. And if you ask me, Man of Tomorrow would work introducing one, if not both. Now, you do risk at, stuffing too many characters into it. I get that. I know some people hate that idea. You throw too many characters into a movie, and then people just get all up in arms about that kind of stuff. But, hear me out. They're fighting Brainiac, probably, most likely. They're fighting Brainiac, Superman, Lex Luthor, potential for the Justice Gang. But let's not forget that what is going on with the government and throwing all these super metahumans onto Planet Salvation. I personally think that we're going to see Hawkgirl getting thrown in there. I think we're going to see other heroes / like heroes that are kind of on that fringe of being a hero kind of thrown in there as well. Maybe even Guy Gardner gets thrown in there for some reason. So if you ask me, the need for a Wonder Woman, the need for possibly a Batman becomes greater because of what the government's doing with metahumans. So for me, I sit there and I go, okay, this could make sense. This could make sense. Now, again, I see some people in the comments saying, yes, this does not 100% guarantee it's Wonder Woman, but and this is a scooper. This is not Variety, The Hollywood Reporter. This isn't DC Studios. This isn't Warner Brothers. This is just some Joe Schmo essentially off the side of the street saying, hey, I heard this. But if this casting information is accurate, I can see it being Wonder Woman. Because as things happen in the DC universe, in the realm of DC, and as metahumans are getting pushed away, and they're going to need help against a larger looming threat, more powerful metahumans are going to be needed in there with the, they're going to need their assistance, is what I'm trying to get at. So to me, it makes sense. Now, I hope it's Wonder Woman. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. But for me, like, hey, who knows? Who knows? Donovan sent this. Let's see. I'll pull it up here. You say it could be, you say, I'm now fully convinced it's going to be Maxima and that this movie will be an adaptation of Panic in the Sky, whereas Brainiac comes to Earth and Superman has to team up with many metahumans to stop him. Okay. I mean, that's a possibility. I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong. I'm not going to say you're wrong. But look who's also in that picture there. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, it could be for a number of things. It could be for a villain. It could be for a hero. It could be for anything. I mean, it's one of those things like, hey, I think once things are cast, like once they get the cast for this movie, we'll have a better understanding of who these characters are. Obviously, they may announce who the characters are. They may not. Depends on how secretive they want to be with things. But yeah, I don't know. I think people just want Wonder Woman. They want Batman. And a lot of us, while we can be patient, we don't want to be patient. And I think that's where we're at with this. That's all. But let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Do you want it to be Wonder Woman? Do you want it to be somebody else? Who else could it be? Who do you think it could be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Where are we at? Donovan saw that. Brian with an eye says Gunn will introduce Mr. Miracle, so my money is on Big Barda. That is not a bad guess. Not at all. What else do we see? else do we got? Willie says maybe Thorn. She was a vigilante and is the alternate identity of Rose. Maybe. I don't know why. Like, she's not a tall character, and like they're looking for somebody who's tall. Donovan says even RJ was like people should pay more attention to this story run. Did Francis gonna say that? No. Okay. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Next up, we got. What do we got? What do we got? Okay, this is weird. I'm not going to dive into the article because this Deadline article popped up this morning. Pierce Brosnan open to playing Dr. Fate again, teases possible Superman appearance. He was talking about how he heard rumor that Dr. Fate would pop up in the Superman sequel, and people went crazy. People were like, "Holy crap! Dr. Fate's going to be in the Superman sequel." So people ran with it, thinking Man of Tomorrow. Oh, and Dr. Fate's going to be in Man of Tomorrow, Dr. Fate. And Pierce Brosnan, everyone's like, "Oh, this must be Pierce Brosnan, kind of like trying to muscle his way, like, hey, I want to be Dr. Fate again in Man of Tomorrow in the DCU. Let's go, let's go, let's go." So everybody was all excited, like, "Hey, this could be awesome. Have Pierce Brosnan back," because he was great. He was great as Dr. Fate. Obviously, they didn't go full Dr. Fate, in my opinion. I think they could have done a lot more with the character, but I get it. Like they had like what 6 characters total that they were kind of dealing with when it came to like the mom, the kid, Black Adam, and then the whole Justice Society thing. So they couldn't dive into his story as much as we would like to, but again, like everybody was like, "Oh, this would be great," but that was kind of put on the back burner, or kind of just kiboshed, because James Gunn goes, "My opinion is I never heard a Dr. Fate rumor." So people asked James Gunn, like, "Hey, what do you think about this Dr. Fate rumor?" And he's like, I never heard a Dr. Fate rumor. Again, it obviously was Pierce Brosnan was probably talking about the discussions that were had with Dwayne Johnson, Henry Cavill, and everything that was going on back then. That's probably what he was thinking about, because let's not forget what was going on back then were some heavy conversations with Cavill and Johnson's group and Abdi and DeLuca about where DC could go if Black Adam was a success. Where could it go? What were the next steps? And remember when Cavill came out and said, "Hey, I'm back. We have some big plans." He was talking about the future of Superman and the next installment for Superman and where things were going to go there. So that's most likely what Pierce Brosnan was talking about there. So it's a little unfortunate, and I honestly wouldn't blame Pierce Brosnan for not knowing that they rebooted DC at this point in time, because he's probably not somebody who partakes in watching and following along with that side of movies. He just probably doesn't. So he may not even know that the DCU was rebooted, or DC was rebooted into the DCU. And he could just be sitting there like thinking, "Hey, if I ever get a phone call, I'll get a phone call. If not, I don't." And that's that. He may have no idea that DC went in a completely different direction than where it was going when he was playing Dr. Fate. Because some actors just don't. Some actors they play a role in a franchise, and if they play it again, they play it again. If not, they don't. So to me, that's probably what ended up happening. But it's interesting. Like, we could have seen more Dr. Fate. But again, we have to remember that back then, it was turning into the Dwayne Johnson universe. It really was. It wasn't the SnyderVerse. It wasn't the DCEU. It wasn't the Walter Hamada universe. If Black Adam would have been successful, it would have been the Dwayne Johnson universe, essentially. It would have taken everything into a different direction than where it was going under Walter Hamada, where it would have gone under Zack Snyder. It would have gone in a completely different direction. I'm going to be completely honest with you. We'd be sitting here today, November 17th, 2025, seeing the same crap about Saudi Arabia and the Snyder groupies trending Restore the SnyderVerse. We would be, because it's just the same thing. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this little kerfuffle from Pierce Brosnan on Dr. Fate. Oh, man. Donovan says, every day I wake up thankful we didn't get that reality. Trayvon says, Black Adam was so boring that I totally forgot about Dr. Fate in that movie. Well, that's a shame. It wasn't a great movie. I fell asleep during it the first time I watched it, but yeah. Let's see what else we got. Anything else? Brian with an eye says Fate was amazing in Black Adam. He was really good in it. Just wish we could have gotten more. Brian with an eye says just got PTSD from the gun reboot announcement. Donovan says The Rock would have destroyed DC Cinematic. Kevco says Dwayne waited for Zack to be out to do Black Adam, and yet he's going to restore. Yeah. And, people, Real Anarchy. What's going on, Ben? Says he also thought he was doing one more James Bond movie. He did. I think he still has hope that he's going to do one more. I do. I think there's still a part of him that thinks one day I'll get that James Bond. One day I'll get it. Look, I like Pierce Brosnan. I wouldn't mind seeing him. That's one of my thoughts. Like, I know that, with Amazon running James Bond now, it's a little off topic, but I would love to see them do like an anthology type of thing with James Bond. Like, just let directors come in and pitch a James Bond idea. So like somebody come in, like a director come in and say, you know what? I want to bring Pierce Brosnan back for a one-off for his final mission with Pierce Brosnan. Have somebody come in and say, you know what? Let's do a Timothy Dalton one. Hey, somebody come in, you know what? I got Daniel Craig on board to do another one that took place back during this time. Like, let's do it. Like, or let's get a brand new actor. I want to bring this actor in to do a James Bond. Like, I would love to just see an anthology type of James Bond universe and just go bonkers with it. Balls to the walls. Don't sit down and tie any one actor to James Bond for the next 15, 20 years at this point. Let's just go bonkers with it, I think, and have fun, because then you could do, like I said, you can bring Pierce Brosnan back. You can bring Timothy Dalton back for no damn reason, because why not? That would be a blast. You could bring new actors in. You could do fun things with it. That's just me. I think it would be fun. That's just me. I don't know. But, okay. Moving on. Ben goes, hey, Logan style would work. Yeah. Kevco says, old man Bond, I'd be down. Heck yeah. Brian with an eye, Dalton was so underrated. Thank you. Yes, I love Dalton. When I was a kid, Dalton was my favorite. I love Dalton. Now, I will say probably why I like Dalton so much, and this is no knock on the other films, but I was a kid of the 90s. So I was growing up, like I was 10, like I was 10 years old in 96. So I started watching Bond when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old in the early 90s. Right before GoldenEye came out, I was starting to watch the Bond films. So the Timothy Dalton movies were the closest to my time period. So they probably were why I liked him so much, because it was like, oh, this feels more like modern day. I still liked Roger Moore. I still liked Sean Connery. But, Timothy Dalton, man, like, yeah, I was all about it. Trayvon says, it's a shame that outside of GoldenEye, Pierce Brosnan's time as Bond was completely overshadowed by Austin Powers. It kind of was. It really was. What's George Lazenby doing? Is he still alive? I have no idea. Like, is he still alive? I wonder, Willie. I wonder. Kevco had the Dalton convo with Comic Cuts last night. Super underrated. He really is. Like, I loved Dalton. I did. L. Turner, oversaturation of an IP. No, don't it wouldn't be it'd just be fun. Like, it'd be something different. Like, I think it's time to take the Bond franchise in a different direction. And I think that would be the way to do it. I think it would just be a fun new direction to take it. Take it into the future. Like, a director could come in and say, look, I'm going to do Bond of the year 2120, and it's 100 years in the future, and what would that look like? It could be wacky as shit and fun. Why not? Or we could say, I want to do Bond of the 1930s. Why not? That is what I think they should do with Bond. I think that would excite people more than just saying, all right, let's reboot again, and all right, we're going to just do the same old stories again where Bond is a young 00 agent and he's got to get his first kill, and he falls in love, but he can't have love because he's a 00 agent. Yeah, it's just like it's the same old thing over and over again. Like, that's what I want to see. It's something different. Okay, moving on. This is a bit interesting because we all heard about the Jimmy Olsen series, right? DC Crime. DC Crime is what we're told. DC Crime. However, James Gunn said a couple days ago, just FYI, there has never been a project titled DC Crime in development, not even as a working title. I don't know where that came from, but it's weird. Huh. So the show isn't called DC Crime? And then he goes, and no, that doesn't mean all of the rest of the story is false. Okay. So Jimmy Olsen's Superman spinoff series, DC Crimes, in development at DC and HBO Max. This is coming from Deadline. But he says there's no project called DC Crime. Never been a show called DC Crime in development, not even a working title. But the rest of the story isn't false. So at least he, hey, that's good. That to me is a little disappointing because I like that title. I thought the title was perfect. Then you kind of start to think like, oh man, what are the possibilities for this show if it's called DC Crime? And you start to think like, oh, what could this be? But now it's kind of like, well, what's the show going to be called? Now I want to know what the name of the show is. Like, come on, what is the show going to be called? But Jimmy Gunn, he's like, he debunks this and then leaves us hanging. He doesn't give us the full story, and I want to know what it is. Now, I've also heard a rumor. I don't know what it is exactly, or where it came from exactly. But somebody said that it's going to be like a workplace comedy, which I hope that it's not. I don't want it to be like a workplace comedy, kind of like the mockumentary style. No, I don't want that. I don't want that. I wouldn't mind if it's a comedy, but I don't want it to be that at all. So I'm a little worried, but hey, look, I really like the DC Crime angle, but it's not what it's called according to Jimmy Gunn. So let's see what it's going to be called. It's really, really bizarre though. That's what everybody was running with, and now it's not that. Interesting. Okay. One more story, and then we'll see if we have time for the one last thing I want to discuss here. Maybe I could talk about this if it wants to load. Let's try this. Or not. Let's try this. Come on. You can do it. I believe in you, computer. I believe in you. I have faith. Okay. Well, the page does not exist anymore. So, no more. So we'll just go to this then. All right. So the final thing we'll talk about is this here. So a couple of weeks ago, I wrote an article about Zack Snyder manipulating the fans, his fans specifically, and how he would manipulate them and believing that something was possibly coming with the SnyderVerse. All in a way of hyping up his own ego, his own films, his own Instagram, whatever it is. And I showed proof. Like I put proof on there showing how his photos on Instagram for other films had like 1,000 views and likes, like 1,000 likes and 2,000 likes. But then his DC ones had like, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 likes. And all the other ones just did terribly on interactions. And it was just kind of like, okay, well, you can start to see like there's something going on here. Like he just signed up for Instagram. He's going to want followers. Plus he's going to want to start showing and highlighting to studios and people like, look, hey, I'm doing a thing. Like, hey, I'm making a, I have followers, that kind of thing. Because believe it or not, studios and things like that, they do take a look at that kind of stuff when they're hiring. They do. So things really kind of opened up this weekend, though, when it came to Snyder. And it really showed me and a lot of other people that, well, maybe he is a lot more manipulative than I initially thought. You can find both of these articles over at /freetalk.com. So, as I said, through production of The Last Photograph, Snyder had been posting images from that film as well as other films, whether it was from the DCEU, even things like from Sucker Punch and The Watchmen, things like that. He posted photos from that. And when you sit down and you think like, hey, this is harmless. Like it's nothing that's that bad. You could sit there and say, look, what director, especially somebody who loves photography as much as he does, wouldn't want to share those pictures with everybody? But production for The Last Photograph came to an end, and you could tell that the hype for that movie just really isn't there. But anytime he posted a photo of, say, DC, his DC stuff, people got excited. People started talking about Zack Snyder. It kept building, and the hype and the hype and hype. People talked about Zack Snyder, So the usual accounts on social media started lighting up like Christmas. Hashtags started forming, and Snyder's base began whispering about signs and messages as though the man is sending coded transmissions from Vero or Instagram. But then came the spark that ignited the bonfire. The like heard around the fandom. So this little thing was posted on Instagram. The comparison, Man of Steel to Superman, global box office comparison, and then tickets sold comparison. And Zack Snyder liked the post. Right here, you can see it. The problem is, yes, it doesn't lie. That is the correct amount of money that's not the correct global box office right there, by the way. So it's misinformation there. But that is the correct global box office for Man of Steel, correct tickets sold. But that is the incorrect global box office right there. So it is misinformation to begin with in that regards. But what does Snyder do? He liked it. A director liking a fan graphic like that, comparing a new Superman film to an old one that is specifically his film, I think without a doubt is wrong. It undermines another filmmaker, especially when it undermines another filmmaker. It goes from goofy to outright petty. Now, there were people trying to spin it, saying, oh, it was probably an assistant of his who liked it, or it was accidental, or he didn't know. Yes, there were people actually saying that. The problem is you can go and look and find that photo and it's still there. For someone who loves controlling his image, Snyder let that linger? No, get out of here. Optically, it's terrible look. Logically, it's an intentional one. Imagine James Gunn seeing that. Imagine the DC Studios team. Imagine the fans still trying to move forward. Well, let's be honest. It's a dick move. Full stop. It's a dick move. However, Snyder wasn't done. And we just talked about this a little bit ago. That producer Patrick guy shared this. Warner Brothers, with a nice little what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. On the top of it there. And Saudi Arabia close to deal to buy WBD. Liked by Zack Snyder. So, yes, fans erupt into speculation. Saudi Arabia is going to buy Warner Brothers. Snyder is coming home. The SnyderVerse is saved. Yet they conveniently forgot, where regulators would most likely nuke the deal. And then a random Instagram account posted, it's a Gutra. I'm sorry, it's a Gutra. He likes it too. No confirmation, no reporting, no reality. Just another splash of gasoline on a fan base already foaming at the mouth. This isn't an assistant. This isn't coincidence. This is a pattern. So why is he doing this? Look, it's time that we're honest here. It's time that the truth comes out that people don't want to hear. Certain people don't want to hear. But Zack is not doing this to signal a secret studio deal. He's not hinting that he knows something that we don't. He's not teasing a return to DC. He's marketing himself. He's chasing engagement. He's leaning on the audience that will scream his name no matter what. Because after a string of underperforming releases and a Netflix deal that hasn't delivered the cultural footprint that they hoped, Snyder needs his next film, The Last Photograph, to hit. He needs buzz. He needs relevance. And the quickest way to get it? Poke the DC fandom. Poke James Gunn. Poke the conversation. Every like is a match dropped on gasoline. Every nostalgic post is a flare. Every cryptic Instagram moment is a calculated spark. This is not a man looking forward. This is someone leaning desperately on the one thing he knows will always cause noise. Unfortunately, the result is more division. While the DCU is trying to build something new through James Gunn with Superman, Peacemaker, DC Crime, which is now not DC Crime, Snyder is out here revving up a fan base that refuses to move on. Instead of unity, we get tribal warfare. Instead of excitement for the future, we get nostalgia-drunk chaos. Instead of celebrating different eras, we get conspiracy culture. There's not healthy fandom behavior. And Snyder knows it. He just doesn't care. Because controversy equals reach. Engagement. Engagement equals reach. And reach equals relevance. Snyder isn't hinting at anything. As far as he knows, he isn't returning to DC. He isn't connected to Warner Brothers Discovery sale. He isn't confirming conspiracies. He's chasing hype. He's boosting the algorithm. He's telling studios, look, I'm trending. But to get that attention, he once again is weaponizing a fan base that is already eager to fight. And honestly, it's exhausting. It's reckless. And it's time to call it out for what it is. A director prioritizing clout over fandom unity. Again. So yeah, people got mad at me for talking about this, about posting this article, but it's the truth. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. He is a sad, strange little man, Donovan. He really is. He is. I've lost so much respect for this man. Look, if I'm wrong, if he knows, and if I'm wrong about this one thing, if he knows that there's a possibility that Saudi Arabia is going to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, he needs to shut the F up, step away, and say, you know what? Let things play out. Let things play out. Because it is wrong to interfere It is wrong to throw all the divisiveness and this vitriol and this just hateful rhetoric into the fandom, because that's what's happening by doing what he's doing. Like that's it. Like hands down. Like if he knows, if it's true, if that's even a possibility, that he knows that there is a possibility, if he has been talking to Saudi Arabia or somebody at Warner Brothers Discovery, and they're like, look, this deal may happen, and because of that, you may get a chance to do SnyderVerse, then he needs to sit back and say, okay, that's fine. Let's let things play out as they're going to play out. Let's not screw over James Gunn or DCU, DC Studios, because you know why? They did nothing to him. They didn't do anything to him. But he can't do that. He can't do that because it's always been about him. That's why I've lost all respect for him. Look, I think he's a fine director. I can separate the art from the man. But the way he's handling this is completely unprofessional. Completely unprofessional. And he needs to be called out for it. Completely called out for it. Like it's, you know, it's one of those things. It's kind of like back in the 2010s, when everything was going on with him and Jeff Johns and John Berg were kind of like apparently trying to muscle their way in for control and the direction of how DC should go. And it was kind of away from how Zack Snyder wanted to go. And it was coming from up top. Kevin Tushihara was trying to like, no, we need it more lighthearted. You're going too dark. He's like, no, man, I want to keep doing it this way. I think it's going to be fun. And they're like, no, it's got to be more lighthearted. It's got to be more fun. It's got to be more like Marvel, everything like that. Like, you would think that after that type of experience that he had, that he wouldn't even want to put any kind of strain on James Gunn or the new DC Studios. Because again, they did nothing to him. Zaslav did nothing to him. James Gunn did nothing to him. Peter Safran did nothing to him. So you would think that he would have the respect and honor and the honorability, the honor to just say, you know what? They're not the guys that screwed me over. They're not the guys that pushed me. So I know I have a fan base that, you know, they're passionate. They want my stuff back, but I'm not going to egg them on. I'm not going to excite them because they're building something. I'm going to let them continue to build something, and hopefully it gets to continue for them. But look, I'm not gonna ruin it for them right now. That would be the honorable thing to do. That would be the respectful thing to do. But he doesn't do that. Regardless if he knows something's happening or not, he shouldn't be doing that. He should not be egging anybody on, causing a stir, causing more division within the fandom. He shouldn't. He should be lowering the temperature. But he doesn't do it. And that is the biggest problem with Zack Snyder. His fans will sit there and say, oh, it's no problem. He doesn't have to do that. Look at what Warner Brothers did to him. Yeah, 10 years ago. A group of men who are no longer at Warner Brothers. And I would fully be behind him if those group of people were still there and he wanted to cause a ruckus for them. But none of them are still there. And that's the problem. That's the problem. He continues to create chaos when there's no need for him to create chaos. He's lost respect from so many people. Like, nobody respects him. No one respects him. His fans respect him, but they don't. Not even his fans respect him. That's the crazy thing. Because they're demanding the SnyderVerse. They want the SnyderVerse back. They want him to do what they want him to do. They don't want him to come back and do what he wants. No, they want him to come back and do what they want him to do. They don't even respect him. No one respects him anymore. And I don't even think he notices that. It's crazy. It's absurd. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the comments about all this. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You can read the whole article over at slavsfreetalk.com. You can also sign up for the newsletter that I now have, where once a week I send out a newsletter for the hot topics of the week that I've put out, all that kind of stuff. Pretty cool, free. Doesn't charge anything. No charge for the newsletter, so you can sign up for it over there. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And I'll go through some of these comments before we close up shop for the day. And Trayvon says, no joke, today was the first time I've heard of the last photograph. That's funny. Critic Chris says he's trying to salvage his career. Donovan says Snyder has a god complex. Donovan says, I don't think Snyder is a nice person like we think he is. Maybe not. Maybe not. Willie says, you're totally correct about him. I feel sorry for the children like Aaron Fisher and Matt McGloin. I don't know who Matt McGloin is, but yeah, they'll never understand it. Trayvon says, happy anniversary, 30th anniversary to Toy Story. Crazy, it's 30 years old. That's wild. Kevco talking about the same dude that released a streaming film in 4:3. It was a good movie. It was a little long. Could have cut out about 20 minutes of slow motion, and there's a few scenes that could have cut out. Probably could have gone from 4 hours to about 3 hours. You probably could have cut out about 40 to 60 minutes of that movie easily. But it's Zack Snyder. What do you expect? Trayvon said, not even Josh Whedon felt this. I wouldn't go that far. Where's Joss been? Ever since he got called out for his antics, he's nowhere to be found, and I don't think we'll really ever see him. Donovan says all of Zach's biggest fans, like Film Junkie, just chose to look the other way and literally gaslight how we are bad ones from calling him out, and he doesn't need to. Even Roken was like, both sides are wrong. Meanwhile, he liked a post with misinformation to undermine another creative filmmaker. This man mentally disturbed and needs to seek therapy counseling. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. He really does need to figure out and get some help. And I like Film Junkie. Dave's good people. The thing is I do believe that Film Junkie is. I have no basis off this. I just believe that he actually is closer with Zach than we know. So when it comes down to it, I don't think he'll ever call him out. So it is what it is. I just think that, this kind of stuff that we're seeing is pretty bad, in my opinion. Critic Chris says no studio should hire him, not when he has a fan base who are spoiled that think world revolves around them. Blood Ocean says, I watched Superman 25 this morning before I went to work. Don't restore the SnyderVerse. Yes, do not restore. Lawrence Fury. Bro, why do these rumors of the SnyderVerse always happen? Today's their big, restore day. So obviously there's going to be a bunch around this day. You just kind of knew it was going to happen. Kevco, for fun, I made my own 3-hour cut of his cut. Blood Ocean says the actors don't want to return, and Snyder Bros don't even like half the team of that JL. Yeah. Felix the Phantom, the Twitter trend is hilarious. It truly is. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. Thank you all for joining today. I will be back at the end of the week for the Watchtower, where we're going to talk all things DC, even though today was a very DC heavy episode, but we'll talk more DC at the end of the week for sure. Hopefully it's not going to be because Saudi Arabia bought Warner Brothers Discovery and SnyderVerse is restored or whatever. I don't know. But we'll talk more DC at the end of the week. Maybe it'll be casting news for the Man of Tomorrow or something like that. Something exciting. Hopefully that's what it'll be. But thank you all for watching. Hey, look, like I said, there's a member-only video where I talk about cosmic book news that went up today. So if you're not a member, become a member. $2.99 a month to be a member to get member-only videos. And with all that, guys, thank you all so much for watching. What do I got here? Willie says, Snyder Hose can put this in his Stampex into a flip book and call it ZSJL2. Trayvon, our movie news wonders why MonsterVerse fans told him off when he suggested Zack Snyder direct a movie for the franchise. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching tonight. I will catch you all later this week.